Have you ever had that nagging feeling that you're a fraud? You know, like you're just one step away from being exposed? Well, that feeling has a name, and believe it or not, it haunts some of the most successful people on the entire planet. Today, we're going to unmask this imposter, and what we find might really surprise you. Just listen to this. These are the words of Maya Angelou, a celebrated poet, a Nobel laureate. After 11 books and just worldwide acclaim, she still felt like she was running a game on everybody. Her confession? It's not a one-off thing. It's actually a window into an experience that might feel, well, pretty familiar. So let's talk about this feeling, this sense of intellectual phoniness. It's that huge disconnect between what you've actually achieved and what you believe you deserve. It's time to give this feeling a proper name and figure out what is really going on under the hood. Seriously, have you ever been in a meeting or maybe started a new job or even just looked at an award with your name on it and had that little voice in your head go, I don't belong here, I just got lucky? If you're nodding along right now, you are in very, very good company. This is what's known as the imposter phenomenon, and it's basically this giant gap between your reality and how you see yourself. On the outside, you're a success, right? You've got the promotions, the good grades, the respect, but on the inside, you feel like a total fraud. You just write off your wins as pure luck, but every tiny mistake feels like proof of your deepest fear, that you're just not good enough. Okay, let's talk about the wording here for a second, because it's really important. You've probably heard the term imposter syndrome, right? Well, a lot of researchers now really prefer the word phenomenon. Why? Because syndrome makes it sound like you're broken, like there's something wrong with you. But phenomenon reframes it. It's a shared experience, and often it's a completely logical reaction to a flawed environment. This is a huge shift in thinking. Maybe the problem isn't in your head, but in the world around you. So how does this feeling keep going? I mean, it's not just a one-time thing. For a lot of people, it's this vicious cycle. Let's actually break down the psychological engine that uses your own success as fuel for even more self-doubt. So here's how the trap works. A new challenge lands on your plate and, bam, anxiety hits hard. You react in one of two extreme ways. You either overprepare like crazy or you procrastinate until the absolute last second. And what happens? You succeed. But, and this is the really cruel twist, you give yourself zero credit. You tell yourself, oh, that was just a fluke, or I only pulled it off because I worked 100 hours. So instead of building confidence, you just feel like a fraud who got away with it again, which just tees you up for even more anxiety next time. The cycle continues. But here's the thing. This feeling doesn't look the same for everybody. The way you experience it really depends on your own unique and, let's be honest, probably impossibly high definition of what it even means to be competent. So Dr. Valerie Young's research actually found 5 different competence types. You can think of them like different flavors of imposter feelings. Each one has its own secret rule book for what it takes to be good enough. Let's see if you recognize yourself in any of these. Okay, do any of these sound a little familiar? First up, we have the perfectionist. For them, getting 99% right is basically a failure. Then there's the superhuman, who feels like they have to crush it in every single role they have. Parent, partner, employee, friend, you name it. We've also got the natural genius, who thinks that if they have to work hard for something, they're not really smart. The soloist is convinced they have to do it all by themselves because asking for help? That's a sign of weakness. And finally, the expert, who lives in this constant fear of being asked a question they don't know the answer to. So, whichever one of those types resonates with you, maybe the most important thing you can take away from this is that you are so far from being alone. Let's just take a look at how incredibly common this experience really is. Get this, some studies show that as many as 82% of people, that's more than 4 out of every 5 of us, will feel this way at some point in their lives. Think about that. This isn't some rare affliction. It's practically a universal part of trying to make it in today's high-achieving cultures. And here's where it gets really weird. This is one of the biggest paradoxes of the imposter phenomenon. You think more success and more education would cure self-doubt, but nope, it often makes it worse. Look at this chart. People with PhDs are nearly twice as likely to feel like imposters as people with less formal education. It's almost like the higher you climb, the more you're afraid of falling. This feeling also seems to love certain jobs. The fields that reports the highest rates are science, marketing, and HR. What do they have in common? They're all super competitive environments with constant evaluation. It's basically the perfect breeding ground for self-doubt to grow. Okay, so if this feeling is everywhere,
what are we supposed to do about it? And this brings us to what might be the most important part of this whole discussion, a really radical reframing of the problem. What if the answer isn't to fix ourselves, but to fix the systems we're all a part of?
This is the huge shift. For decades, we've treated this whole thing as a personal problem. The advice was always, you just need to be more confident, lean in. But this new perspective completely flips that on its head. It says that feeling like an imposter isn't a sign that you're broken, it might just be a sign that you're in a broken system. So the focus moves away from fixing the person and towards fixing the culture.
So we're left with a pretty powerful question to think about. The next time that feeling of being a fraud starts to creep in, do we see it as our own personal flaw that we need to fix? Or do we see it as a signal, a red flag that the culture around us is what really needs to change? That simple shift in perspective, well, it could change everything.